Compared to other laptop repairs, keyboards should be a pleasure to work on. This is because keyboard repairs are usually easy, but can be a bit tricky. In this video, I'll show you when to replace keyboards, how to install them, and where to buy them. Let's start by talking about when to replace keyboards. When some liquid spills on a keyboard and the rest of the computer miraculously survives the incident, the keyboard is almost inevitably damaged. In these cases, no matter how much drying you do, the keyboard may never work again properly and needs to be replaced. The liquid seeps in between the fine layers of the keyboard, and that causes permanent damage. Now, you might get lucky in some cases and the keyboard might be fine, but most cases I found that's not the case. Other times I'll replace a keyboard when so many keys are damaged that it isn't even worth it to replace each key individually, but to replace the whole keyboard. In fact, the price of keyboards are so low now, even if one key was missing, it may still be worth it to replace the entire keyboard. I'll show you how to do this and where to buy them in this video. And there's other times when a keyboard is just so dirty and worn out that it needs to be replaced. I love doing keyboard repairs. Keyboards are very easy to remove in most modern machines. Here's the general procedure that should work for most laptops. We're going to be using a Dell Inspiron 6000 as our example computer here. And what we're going to do is use a screwdriver and pry up what I call the hinge cover plate. And that's the plate that covers the screws that allow you to take the keyboard out. And usually it pops right off if you pull up from one side of it. It's really easy on Dells. They have a little groove that you put your screwdriver in. Then you take your screwdriver and you unscrew the screws at the top of the keyboard. Usually there's 2 or 4 screws. Sometimes laptops are screwed in from the bottom of the keyboard as well, but on this particular Dell, it's just those 2 screws. Then you flip it up. You see how it's connected. In this case, it's a simple ribbon connection. You just pull straight up and you pull it out. Now, like I said, sometimes keyboards are screwed in from the bottom, and you have to unscrew that screw before you can get the keyboard out. You'll often see a picture next to that screw, like an icon of a keyboard or the letter KB like you're seeing here. And once that's out, then you can take the keyboard and you can detach it after you have the hinge cover plate off and the screws removed. Now, sometimes the hinge cover plate is a little harder to get off because it's screwed in from the bottom. That's why I always check to see if that hinge cover plate is screwed in from the bottom before I attempt to take it off, because I've broken 1 or 2 in my lifetime before I learned this lesson. So I take off the screws from the bottom, then I pry up the hinge cover plate from the top, jiggle it to see if it comes out. Now, knowing I have all the screws out, I can give it a little pressure, maybe pressure on the other side to get it off, and it'll pop right off. If it's not coming off easy, chances are that it's screwed in from the bottom. Then you can flip up the keyboard, and now we're going to remove the ribbon from the connector. We're just going to take our thumb and flip up the little brown tab that's holding the keyboard in. I'm going to show you this in more detail in the next couple slides, and pull the keyboard off. Now, be aware, every computer and every manufacturer is different, so there's going to be different ways to pull keyboards out. On the ThinkPad, for example, you have to push the keyboard up towards the screen and then pull up from the bottom where the mouse pad is. You can see me doing that here, and then you're going to see me putting it back in. Now, you're going to run into a variety of different connectors that actually connect the ribbon cable of the keyboard to the motherboard, and I'm going to go over a couple of them here and how to remove the ribbon cable from those connectors. This one has a brown tab that you pull up from one side to get the ribbon cable off, as shown in the last top we looked at. This particular connector is quite common and it has 2 brown points at the end that you push outward from the white part of the connector, and that frees up the ribbon cable. This is a rather simple one that you pull straight up from the motherboard, and the connector sits on top of a smaller connector. Usually there's a tab, in this case there's that blue tab that will assist you to pull it up so you don't have to get your fingers deep dug in there. Now, this one is similar to the one that had the 2 brown tabs on the side, except the 2 points that you have to move on this one are on top of the connector. And they're usually the same color as the connector, in this case that beige, and you have to pull them straight up. And once you pull them up, you'll see that the ribbon now is more free and you can pull it out. I buy almost all my keyboards for laptops on eBay, and I use eBay for a couple reasons. Number one, I think it's one of the safest places online that you can use to shop, because every seller on eBay has a feedback rating, and that feedback rating reflects how honest of a seller they are. Buyers leave feedback for the seller, and if the seller does a bad job, then you could flush out all the bad sellers using feedback ratings. So that's why I think it's a great place. And a lot of people think the opposite, but they're not really thinking with feedback ratings. So a lot of other websites online don't have feedbacks. You don't know how legit they are. They could be scamming you, and you would have no way of telling that they're going to do that. So that's why I like eBay. So always look at feedback ratings on eBay. The second reason why I like buying on eBay is it's very cheap. You could find great deals on eBay on new and used items. So if we're going to buy a keyboard on eBay, let me just type in a model of keyboards that we're going to buy. Let's say we're going to buy a Dell B130 keyboard. I just typed that into eBay search, I hit enter, and I see what comes up. Now there's 285 results for Dell B130 keyboard. Well, I don't want to buy an auction. Okay, I only want to do buy it now, which is like this is buy it now for $14.75. See how cheap that is? And that's with free shipping. This is also a top-rated seller. So I want to make sure it's a buy it now item I want to get, because an auction, and I'll try to find an auction here for you. Here's an example of an auction. This is not a buy it now. So in 17 hours, this auction is going to end. And if you put a bid in on that, it's not guaranteed you're going to win that. So if you're in a hurry to get a part for a customer or something like that, you want to make sure you are able to get the item quickly. So I don't usually use auctions. I only do buy it now. And a great way to find all the buy it nows is just to click in the preferences over here, buy it now. That flushes out all the auctions, and now everything in the listing here is a buy it now, as you can see. And then you can also sort by price. Right now it's sort by best match, but let's sort by price lowest first, and this is including shipping. Now these are a lot of skin covers. These aren't necessarily the keyboards. And now we're starting to get into the actual keyboards here. For example, here's some keyboards here. And these are keyboards for an Inspiron B130 and amongst other models for $10 with free shipping. Let's click on that and see what we're dealing with here. Okay, now you could look over on the right-hand side and you could get some information about your seller. They have 1,938 positive feedbacks. It's 99.2% positive feedback they have, which is great. I like to buy from sellers that have 98% or higher, if possible, positive feedback. And you could also see now where this item is coming from. Now, these guys are based in Hong Kong. I live in the United States. I usually like to buy from the same country I'm living in. So though I've bought things from Hong Kong before and it's been perfectly fine, it just takes a little longer to ship. And they are usually cheaper when you buy from Hong Kong and places in that area, especially electronics. But for now, I'm going to just back up, hit my back button, go back to my search results, and I'm going to choose US only. Now I'm going to go back up to the top of the list, and we're going to see, starting with the lowest price first, all the keyboards, and there's actually some keys in here, of keyboards being sold from the U.S., starting with the lowest price. We're looking at about $13. Now, let's see if this is a new keyboard. And it actually is. It says new here. Let's click on that and see what the seller looks like. Now, here's a new keyboard for an Inspiron. B130 is included, from a seller named Trusted2 Global. He's got 1,097 positive feedbacks, and he's got 99.3 positive feedback. So those are two good numbers. He is located in the United States. Most of the time, you'll see what city he's in the United States. And he accepts PayPal. Let's take a look at his listing and see if everything's legit. This is a brand new original keyboard. Shipping is Postal Service First Class Mail. 90-day warranty from date of purchase. He's got some contact information there. It looks like he's pretty legit. So I would probably end up buying from this seller. For $13, you could have a brand new keyboard. So hit the Buy It Now button. You're going to need a PayPal account. And PayPal is great because if you buy with PayPal and the seller decides to screw you over, PayPal will cover you on the items that you buy. And this is not something that has been done forever with PayPal. They just started doing this not too long ago to protect the sellers. So eBay has come a long way, and it's really a great place to buy. So I'd hit Buy It Now, and I'd buy this keyboard. Now, in the clip I just showed you, I ordered that keyboard from the model number of the computer, a Dell B130. But there's different ways to search for the keyboards that you need. In some cases, you'll have to search for the keyboard by model number of the keyboard rather than model number of the computer. And that's true with the IBM ThinkPad that I'm going to show you right now. There's two different keyboards that look identical from the top, but if you flip them over, you'll see that one has posts in different locations than the other one. This was a mistake I recently made. I actually bought the wrong keyboard for this particular computer. And because of the different post placement on the bottom of the keyboard, it did not fit in this machine. Now, if I would have ordered by model number of the keyboard itself, I would have bought the correct keyboard on the first try. On occasion, when buying an entire keyboard would be too expensive or unnecessary, I replace separate keys on keyboards. I have a video or two about replacing keys on keyboards, but the folks at laptopkey.com have allowed me to include their videos in my collection for replacing keys. Laptopkey.com is a site that sells keys as well as provides instructional videos for tons of different laptops on how to replace keys. I went through their catalog and they don't have a laptop in there that I couldn't find where they show how to replace the key on the laptop. So check out the videos for that in the members section at laptoprepairvideos.com/members. And lastly, it's also a smart move to save the keyboards you replace in case a customer comes in needing a certain key or two for that particular model. This could save you having to buy that key separately. Well, that's about it for keyboards. For more videos on keyboards, go to the keyboard section in the members section of laptopprepairvideos.com, and thank you.